Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining me today. As part of this course, you're taking an important step towards strengthening your understanding of healthy relationships. The information in this training isn't just for fulfilling course requirements, it's practical, real world knowledge that can help you build stronger connections, recognize red flags, and foster respect in all types of relationships. My name is Olivia Oropeza, and I'm the Community Prevention Manager at the Victim Service Center of Central Florida, the certified rape crisis center here in Central Florida. Healthy relationships are essential for everyone, whether you're navigating romantic partnerships, friendships, or professional connections. Understanding the foundations of healthy communications, boundaries, and trust and respect are all critical for promoting well being and safety in all aspects of our lives. At the end of this training, you'll complete a quiz to reinforce what you've learned today and take a brief survey to provide some feedback. Your input is very valuable to us, helping us continuously improve this training for future participants. Before we dive in, I do want to acknowledge that some of the topics we'll be discussing, such as different forms of abuse, intimate partner violence, and sexual violence, can be difficult and triggering for some viewers. If at any point you need to take a break or step away, please prioritize your own mental health and well being. You can always return to the training when you're ready, and it's important you take care of yourself. Now, let's get started. Before we dive into our topic too much today, I want to briefly introduce the Victim Service Center of Central Florida, or the VSC. The VSC provides free, confidential support to victims of sexual assault, violent crimes, and other traumatic circumstances. Our mission is to help survivors heal, offer crisis intervention, and raise awareness to prevent future violence. We operate a 24/7 sexual assault helpline at 407 500 HEAL, 407 500 4235. This is available anytime for survivors or those who are supporting a survivor or someone who has experienced trauma. For survivors needing forensic exams, our sexual assault nurse examiners, or SANEs, provide compassionate and confidential exams, ensuring that the process is survivor-centered and allowing the option to stop or not report to law enforcement at any point. Beyond crisis support, we offer long-term services including counseling, therapy, support during medical and legal proceedings, and support groups tailored to various needs, including groups for LGBTQ+ survivors, mature women, men, and healing through yoga or dance. If you're considering a career in advocacy or other related fields, the VSC offers internships and volunteer opportunities to gain hands-on experience and help make a difference in your community. Now, let's continue exploring today's topic, foundations of healthy relationships. So, why is this so important to talk about? Let's take a moment to consider some of these statistics which highlight the significance and understanding of fostering healthy relationships. First, about 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men have experienced severe physical violence from an intimate partner. This means that many people have endured abuse or violence in their relationships, which can have long-lasting impacts on their mental and physical well-being. Next, almost 1 in 5 women have reported experiencing sexual violence by an intimate partner in their lifetime. This is a stark reminder of how intimate partner violence can take many forms, including sexual violence, and affects a significant number of people. On a global scale, around 1 in 3 women have been subjected to either physical or sexual violence by an intimate partner. This shows that IPV is not just a local issue, but a global one. Lastly, in the US, more than 10 million adults have experienced domestic violence each year. That equates to nearly 20 people per minute suffering physical abuse from an intimate partner. These numbers are staggering, and they reinforce the importance of prevention and creating a culture where healthy relationships are prioritized. So, why is this so important? Healthy relationships are crucial for many aspects of our lives. They aren't just about preventing violence, they're about supporting our overall well-being. Healthy relationships give us emotional support, reduce our stress, and contribute to better mental and physical health. Research shows that strong social connections, whether through your family, your friends, or romantic partners, are all associated with lower rates of anxiety and depression. People with solid support systems have higher self-esteem, are more empathetic, and tend to develop trusting, cooperative relationships. On top of that, these connections can improve your immune system, help your body recover from illness, and may even contribute to a longer life. So, understanding the dynamics of healthy relationships is not just about preventing harm, but it's also about building a foundation for a healthier, more fulfilling life overall. So now we're going to watch a video that explores the importance of embracing happy singledom and how that plays a crucial role in building healthy relationships. The foundation of many strong relationships begins with feeling content and secure on your own. If you're not happy being single, it can lead to rushing into relationships for the wrong reasons, or choosing partners who aren't right for you. Understanding and appreciating your own company first can help you make healthier choices in future relationships. So now let's watch this video and explore why being comfortable with who you are on your own is the key to forming the kind of relationship that supports your growth and happiness.
One of the most important preconditions of a good relationship is a satisfactory perspective on being single. The more we are happy to be on our own, the more we will be able to exercise the correct degree of caution around finding a new companion. The bedrock of true love is happy singledom. Unfortunately, our societies do very little to help us be calm or at ease in our own company. Singledom is framed as an involuntary, depressing, and always, hopefully, temporary state. The notion that someone might want or need to be on their own, perhaps for a long while, terrifies a world shaped by legions of silently miserable couples who need confirmation that they have not chosen the wrong path. To enforce the idea of what single people are missing, advertisers can never have enough of showing off tantalizing images of happy couples walking hand in hand on beaches, and most entertainment venues, holiday destinations, and social occasions feel compelled to patronize, overcharge, and otherwise demean anyone who has the impudence to venture out on their own. Unfortunately, being miserable while single fatally undermines our judgment about who we might get together with. When someone is starving, they will eat anything. Dostoevsky wrote a harrowing short story about a famished child who eats a candle made of pig fat. And we're equally liable, in emotional desperation, to run into the nearest nightclub to secure a chump we'll be appalled to find beside us at daybreak. We eventually learn being in an unsatisfactory relationship is clearly worse, that is, even more lonely, than being alone. The central challenge of being alone is coping with the fear of what singlehood means. Being alone is bearable in relation to how normal, that highly nebulous yet highly influential concept, the condition feels to us at any given point. It can either be a break from an honorably busy life, or sure evidence that we are an unwanted, wretched, disgusting, and emotionally diseased being. This is tricky, but ultimately very hopeful, for it suggests that if only we could work on what being alone means to us, we could theoretically endure long periods alone. To build ourselves a new mental model of what being alone should truly mean, we might rehearse a few of the following arguments. Despite what an unfriendly voice inside our heads might tell us, we are the ones who can choose whether or not to be alone. Our solitude is willed, rather than imposed. No one ever needs to be alone, so long as they don't mind who they are with. But we do mind. The wrong kind of company is a great deal lonelier for us than being by ourselves. That is, it's further from what matters to us, more grating in its insincerity, and more of a reminder of disconnection and misunderstanding than is the conversation we can have in the quiet of our own minds. Being alone is not proof that we have been rejected by the world. It's a sign that we've taken a good look at the available options and have, with wisdom, done some rejecting ourselves. Another big thought is that we need to appreciate how long it will take to find someone, given how choosy we are, for very good reasons. We aren't just looking for anyone. The right candidate will be no less easy to find than a great job or a beautiful house. It might take many months, probably years. Expectations matter. If we regard a decade as a plausible time frame, then 6 months will skip by. There is no better guarantee of a successful relationship than knowing that we could, and can, manage perfectly well on our own. It means that we will only look for someone who can deeply contribute to our life, not someone who can do the laundry with us or keep us company on Sunday evenings. This gives us the strength to back out of unsatisfactory unions as quickly as we should. Being in a couple can't and shouldn't mean that we are utterly reliant on the other for our self-esteem, our daily self-management, or for the meeting of our domestic needs. When we have under our belt a significant experience of thriving on our own, we will be able to cope with the inevitable points at which even a very nice partner can't sustain us. We'll be less demanding, more competent, and more forensic in what we seek from a lover. It turns out that our willingness to stay on our own is what centrally predicts how likely we'll be to find and bring to fruition a relationship with someone else. Being at ease with being single is the needed secure platform from which to make a sane and wise choice about who to create a joint life with.
Now, let's dive into the core elements of what we should expect from a healthy relationship. These are fundamental qualities that form the building blocks of trust, mutual respect, and shared happiness in a partnership. The first element we'll talk about is trust. This is the cornerstone of any good relationship. Trust means keeping promises, being honest, even when it's tough. It's about respecting privacy, such as not snooping through each other's messages or belongings without permission first. Trust also means believing in someone's reliability and having confidence that they will act in your best interest. Next, we have communication. This is key to understanding and being understood. In healthy relationships, communication involves openly expressing your thoughts, needs, and feelings while also actively listening to your partners. It's about using I statements like, I feel hurt when you cancel plans last minute, to express yourself without sounding accusatory towards your partner. Healthy communication also means asking questions to understand instead of just jumping to conclusions, and handling conflict calmly rather than resorting to yelling or shutting down. The third element is respect. Respect is about valuing each other's thoughts, feelings, and boundaries without judgment or dismissal. In respectful relationships, you avoid hurtful behaviors like name calling during arguments. Instead, you support each other's goals and aspirations, encouraging each other to both grow individually and together as a couple. Finally, balance. Balance in a relationship means that power and control are shaped equally. Both partners should feel that their needs, opinions, and choices are valued and respected. Healthy relationships are built on mutual effort, both individuals contributing equally to decision making, planning, and initiating important actions. When there's balance, both partners feel like they have an equal say and they can each rely on each other. So, we've discussed what core elements should be present in a healthy relationship. It's also important to understand how relationships can suffer when these elements are missing. Without trust, for example, the relationship can quickly become overwhelming and filled with doubt. You may find yourself constantly second guessing everything your partner does, feeling anxious or worried that they might betray you. You might even feel the urge to check their phone or social media to see if they're being honest, which will ultimately create an unhealthy dynamic. Without respect, the relationship can become hurtful or feel unimportant. When respect is lacking, you may feel dismissed or belittled, like your thoughts, feelings, and needs don't matter. It can be incredibly disheartening when your partner doesn't treat you with kindness, and over time, this lack of respect will erode your self esteem. Without communication, confusion takes over. You might feel unsure about where you stand with your partner, constantly wondering if they're on the same page as you. This can lead to frequent misunderstandings, unnecessary arguments, and frustration. When your needs or concerns go unaddressed, it can feel like your voice isn't being heard or valued. Lastly, without balance, one person might feel overpowered or controlled. The relationship may feel one sided, where one partner's opinions and decisions dominate, while the other's feels ignored or manipulated. It can be emotionally exhausting when it feels like you're walking on eggshells to avoid conflict or criticism, and that power imbalance can create a toxic atmosphere. In all of these situations, the lack of core elements creates a foundation of instability and insecurity. It's essential to be aware of these signs so you can identify when things aren't healthy and work towards addressing them before they spiral out of control. As we discussed, a lack of core elements like trust, respect, communication, and balance can really impact how a relationship feels and how it functions. Now, we all know that no relationship is perfect. There will be times when things get challenging, but it's important to remember the goal is to always strive for these core elements, even when things get tough. So, I want you to take a moment and reflect on your past experiences. Have you ever been in a relationship where trust, respect, communication, or balance were missing? What did that feel like for you? Maybe it felt anxious. You might have felt ignored, misunderstood. Those feelings can be big red flags for unhealthy dynamics in relationships. This brings us to the work of Dr. John Gottman, a well-known relationship researcher who has identified 4 major behaviors that can seriously damage relationships. He calls them the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse for relationships. They are negative communication patterns that predict relationships breaking down. In his research, Gottman found that these behaviors are so destructive, they can lead to the eventual end of a relationship if not properly addressed. To help us understand these behaviors, we'll watch a video that breaks them down. This will give you a better understanding of how harmful behaviors can affect a relationship negatively. Let's watch.
So selfish.
What an idiot.
It's not my fault we're always late.
Forget it.
Criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. Dr. John Gottman calls these negative communication patterns the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse because they'll lead to the end of your relationship. In fact, he can predict this relationship failure with over 90% accuracy if the behavior isn't changed. So, what can you do? Well, at the Gottman Institute, we understand you might not even know you're communicating this way, or you might not know how to control it. But if you practice the following 4 research-based antidotes, there is hope for your future. Criticism attacks the character of the recipient, instead of focusing on a specific behavior. The antidote to criticism is to talk about your feelings using I statements, then express a positive need. Contempt is an expression of superiority that comes out as sarcasm, cynicism, name-calling, eye-rolling, sneering, mockery, and hostile humor. Contempt is the greatest predictor of relationship failure and must be eliminated. The antidote to contempt is to treat one another with respect and build a culture of appreciation within the relationship. Defensiveness is self-protection through righteous indignation or playing the victim. Defensiveness never solves the problem and is really just an underhanded way of blaming your partner. The antidote to defensiveness is to accept responsibility, even if only for part of the conflict. Stonewalling occurs when the listener withdraws from the conversation without resolving anything. It takes time for the negativity created by the first 3 horsemen to result in stonewalling, but when it does, it can become a habit. The antidote to stonewalling is to break for at least 20 minutes. Calm down, then return to the conversation. Spare your relationship from certain destruction. Learn more about eliminating the 4 horsemen by visiting our site.
To recap the video, the 4 horsemen are contempt. This is the most dangerous of the 4, where one partner feels superior to the other and often mocks or disrespects their partner. Second is criticism. This is, instead of focusing on specific actions, you instead attack your partner's character, which leads to feelings of being unloved or unappreciated. Defensiveness is when someone becomes defensive and they're unwilling to accept responsibility or acknowledge the partner's feelings, leading to more tension. And lastly, stonewalling is when one partner shuts down emotionally or physically withdraws, making it difficult to resolve conflicts. The 4 horsemen can create huge barriers in communication, trust, and, if left unchecked, can lead to the deterioration of the relationship. Now, based on Dr. Gottman's research, it's not just about eliminating these negative interactions. He also found that for relationships to remain healthy, positive interactions need to outweigh negative ones. The ratio of positive to negative interactions is crucial. So here's the question I want you to think about. How many positive interactions need to occur for each negative interaction to maintain a healthy relationship? Is it 1 to 3? Is it 1 to 5? 1 to 10? Well, we found through research that healthy relationships need to maintain a ratio of at least 5 positive interactions for every 1 negative interaction. This ratio ensures that when conflict arises and mistakes happen, the overall connection still remains strong. It's not about avoiding conflict altogether, but about knowing how to repair the relationship after difficult moments and nurturing it with kindness, empathy, and respect. So as you move forward, keep this in mind. Healthy relationships thrive on foundations of positivity and supportive interactions. These interactions don't have to be grand gestures. They can be small, everyday moments that show you care and appreciate your partner. So as we've discussed, positive interactions are the actions and words that create connection, trust, and understanding in a relationship, while negative interactions can cause distance and hurt. Positive interactions can include things like giving a genuine compliment, expressing appreciation, making time for your partner, or doing something thoughtful like bringing them their favorite coffee. On the flip side, negative interactions might include criticizing, using sarcasm, yelling, or ignoring your partner when they're trying to connect with you. These behaviors can really hurt relationships and can create a sense of distance or emotional withdrawal. It's important to also note that not all positive interactions will be the same for every person. Everyone has a different way of feeling loved and appreciated, and that's where the love languages comes into play. The five main love languages are words of affirmation, acts of services, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. Understanding your partner's love language can make all the difference in how you communicate and connect with them. For example, if your partner's love language is words of affirmation, expressing appreciation through kind words or compliments will have a much greater impact than giving them a gift. If their love language is acts of service, helping them out with things they need or making life a little easier for them can show you care more than words ever could. By learning to speak your partner's love language as understanding your own, you can make more positive interactions occur in your relationship. This can help strengthen your relationship, reduce misunderstandings, and overall deepen your emotional connection. To help you figure out your own love language and to better understand how to apply this in your relationship, there's a love language quiz linked in this module. It's a great tool to help you identify what works best for you and how you can use it to improve the way you connect with others. Even when we focus on positive interactions, there still will be moments when emotions run high and tough conversations need to happen. That's completely normal in all types of relationships. The key is knowing how to handle those moments in ways that strengthens rather than damages the relationship. Even the most positive relationship can struggle if we don't have the skills to work through conflict. This is where these strategies come in. They help us manage tough conversations in a way that prevents resentment and builds understanding, rather than leading to hurt feelings and distance. So, first, calm down. When arguments start, our bodies react as if we're facing a real physical threat, even if it's just someone raising their voice. Our brain shifts into a fight or flight mode, shutting off the part responsible for complex thinking and emotional regulation. This is why we sometimes say things we don't really mean or struggle to listen when we're upset. That's why a timeout is so important. It's not avoiding the problem. It's giving your brain time to reset so you can have a productive conversation. Studies show that once emotions spike, it takes at least 25 minutes for our bodies to fully calm back down. So, if a conversation gets too heated, take a break and set a clear time to come back to it. This helps prevent saying or doing things you'll regret later. Next, be specific. Once you've calmed down, it's important to be specific when expressing your feelings. Instead of accusing or generalizing, focus on your emotions first, then the specific situation. For example, rather than saying, "You never listen to me," try saying, "I feel unheard when I get interrupted. I need to finish my thought before you respond." This approach helps keep the conversation focused on solving an issue rather than making a person feel hurt. Next is speak non-defensively. It's easy to become defensive when discussing something difficult, but that only makes things worse. Instead, use the win method to share your needs in a way that encourages understanding rather than conflict. So that looks like when this happens for W, and then you describe the specific behavior. I feel for I, and then you share the emotional response you're feeling. And then I need for N, and you state what would help you feel better or improve the situation. So, for example, instead of saying, "You're so selfish, you never think of me," you can try saying, "When I feel like I'm the only one planning our time together, I feel unappreciated. I need us to share the responsibility more." Speaking like this reduces defensiveness and makes it more likely your partner will listen and respond positively. Lastly is validate. Validation might feel a little silly at first. Repeating something back when someone says it to you exactly in that way, isn't that obvious? But in reality, without this type of validation, conversations can just run in circles where both people feel unheard and frustrated. When you take the time to reflect back what your partner says to you, it shows them that you care about their feelings and you actually understood what they said to you. It can be as simple as your partner saying, or you saying, "I hear you feel hurt when I don't respond to your texts." Or, "It sounds like you're really stressed at work right now." Validation doesn't mean agreeing with everything they say, it just means acknowledging their feelings. This simple step reduces tension, helps people feel heard, and makes finding a solution much easier. Overall, it's important we practice and overlearn these skills. Just like positive interactions, these skills take practice. The more you use them, the easier and more natural they become. When we replace our harmful habits with these healthy tactics, we create stronger and more resilient relationships. And it's important we talk about consent when we're discussing healthy relationships. Just because you're in a relationship with someone doesn't mean you have automatic consent. Dating, being married, or even past experiences together don't equal a blank check. Consent is about what someone actively and willingly says yes to in the moment. There are a lot of situations where people assume consent is there when it actually isn't. Something like, well, they didn't say no, is not consent. Consent requires clear and enthusiastic yeses, not just the absence of a no. Hesitation, silence, discomfort, all of those are signs to stop and check in. Some people might think, well, we've done this before, but that's also not consent. They might think, but we're in a relationship. But real consent doesn't happen automatically. Every time, every action must have mutual and clear consent. Sometimes people might think, well, they flirted with me earlier or they didn't push away. But again, flirting isn't consent and a lack of resistance is not consent either. Sometimes fear, pressure, or uncertainty can cause someone to freeze instead of saying no. So instead of those, let's look at the 5 pillars of consent. Fries. Consent needs to be freely given, reversible, informed, enthusiastic, and specific. First, F is for freely given. Consent should never be pressured, manipulated, or forced. If someone is afraid for their safety, feels guilted, or pressured, it is not consent. Feeling like you have to say yes to avoid conflict or consequences, not consent. R is for reversible. Anyone can change their mind at any time. If someone says stop and the person continues, that's assault. Just because something started doesn't mean it has to keep going. Nobody is obligated. I is for informed. Consent requires honesty and full disclosure. Not disclosing an STI or STD or past sexual partners that could impact someone else's health, that's not true consent. Stealthing, which is when someone removes a condom or birth control without consent, is also considered sexual assault. Lying or misleading someone about what's happening also invalidates consent. E is for enthusiastic. A yes should be excited, clear, genuine, not hesitant or coerced. If someone is drunk, high, unconscious, they cannot give their consent. A reluctant, I guess, or okay, fine, is not enthusiastic consent. A real yes sounds like, I want to. This sounds amazing. I'm into this. S is for specific. Consent is about the exact thing being agreed to in that moment. Saying yes to one thing does not mean saying yes to everything. And just because someone is okay with one type of intimacy doesn't mean they're okay with more. I want to remind you that asking for consent doesn't have to kill the mood or be awkward. It can be flirty, attractive, even sexy, while ultimately keeping everybody safe and respected. Some flirty ways to ask for consent could be, I really want to kiss you right now. Is that okay? I'd love to take this to the next level. How do you feel about that? Tell me what you want me to do next. And this helps put them in control and make them feel empowered. You could also give consent in ways that are affirming and positive, saying, yes, please, or you don't have to ask twice. I'd love that. That sounds amazing. And it's important we check in with our partners, asking things like, are you still feeling good? Is this okay for you? Want me to keep going or switch it up? If anything doesn't feel good, just tell me, offering them that reassurance that you care and respect their boundaries. It's also important that we know how to handle a no respectably. It's mostly not about you in those case scenarios. And we can say things like, no worries, I respect that. I appreciate you being honest. Thank you for telling me. Let's just chill. Or, that's totally cool. Let's do something else fun. The bottom line here, consent doesn't have to be a mood killer. It's part of making sure the experience is enjoyable, fun, and respectful for everybody. Being respectful, communicative, and confident makes this experience better for everyone involved. So not all relationships look the same, but there's a big difference between a relationship that's healthy, one that's unhealthy, and one that's abusive. Understanding these differences can help us recognize red flags and work towards relationships that are safe, respectful, and fulfilling. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, trust, and support. They feel safe, they feel equal and empowering. Both people communicate openly, set their boundaries, and can be their authentic selves. In unhealthy relationships, they may involve dishonesty, manipulation, and levels of control. There may be poor communication, tension, insecurity, and even if there isn't outright abuse, there are probably warning signs that should not be ignored. Lastly, an abusive relationship goes beyond just some unhealthy behaviors. They are dangerous. They involve physical violence, emotional manipulation, control, humiliation, financial and sexual coercion. These relationships are built on power, control, and fear, not love and respect. No one deserves to be in a relationship that makes them feel unsafe, powerless, or isolated. And abuse is not just a toxic relationship, it's a violation of your rights. In an abusive relationship, your safety, your autonomy, your dignity are discarded. Abuse isn't always physical, it takes many forms, each designed to control, intimidate, or break down a person's sense of self. Understanding these types of abuse can help us recognize when a relationship has crossed the line from unhealthy to dangerous. So, some different forms of abuse. There's physical abuse, any form of hitting, kicking, pushing, or physical harm. Sexual abuse, being forced or pressured into any sexual act from kissing to intercourse. Verbal abuse, name calling, put downs, using words to degrade, manipulate, or control somebody. Emotional abuse are actions designed to tear down somebody's sense of self worth, such as gaslighting, shaming, or guilt tripping. Reproductive control is controlling someone's decisions about pregnancy and birth control and parenting choices. Threats and intimidation may be used in abusive relationships to maintain control, things like threatening harm or suicide or violence. Isolation looks like restricting who someone can see, talk to, or rely on for support. And lastly, cultural and identity abuse can look like shaming, belittling, or preventing a partner from practicing their faith, embracing their culture, or expressing their identity. Abuse thrives in silence, but you are not alone, and no one deserves to be controlled, intimidated, or harmed in their relationship. Support and resources are always available if you find yourself here. So, we're going to go through some scenarios now, and I want you to decide if the behavior discussed is a red flag for abusive, a yellow flag for unhealthy, or a green flag for healthy relationships. Let's say your partner shuts down and refuses to engage in conversation when you try to discuss an issue that's important to you. Green, yellow, or red flag. That's going to be a yellow flag. This is for an unhealthy relationship because it shows poor communication and a lack of emotional support. In healthy relationships, both partners feel heard and respected. Shutting down, also called stonewalling, prevents resolutions, makes the other person feel ignored or unimportant. And over time, this pattern can make someone feel silenced, or maybe that individual will now avoid bringing up issues. And this can lead to resentment and emotional distance. When does this behavior become a red flag? If your partner consistently refuses to communicate or uses the silence treatment to punish you, manipulate you, or control you. If they react with anger, threats, or intimidation when you try to express yourself, this may be crossing the line into abusive territory. What would a green flag in this situation look like? A healthy partner might say things like, I'm feeling overwhelmed right now, but I want to talk about this later when I can give it my full attention. Let's move on to the next one. Your partner blocks the door when you try to leave after an argument and won't let you leave until they've calmed down. Is this a green flag, a yellow flag, or a red flag? This is going to be a red flag for abusive relationships because it involves control, intimidation, and a violation of a freedom. Blocking the door is a form of physical control, even if they don't touch you. It removes your ability to leave, making you feel trapped or unsafe. This behavior is often a way to assert dominance and can escalate into physical violence over time. Even if the reasoning is, I just wanted to calm down first, they are prioritizing their own emotions over your right to leave, making the situation unsafe and unhealthy. Signs that this situation could escalate is if they physically grab, push, or corner you and prevent you from leaving, if they threaten you, or if they become more aggressive over time. What does a healthy response in this situation look like? A supportive partner might say things like, I don't want to leave things like they are right now, but I respect that you need space. Can we set a time to check in later? In healthy relationships, both people feel safe stepping away from conflict without fear of consequences. Let's move on to the next one. Your partner randomly shows up at your job, even though you told them it makes you uncomfortable. Is this a green flag, a yellow flag, or a red flag? This is going to be a red flag. But why is this so abusive? Disrespecting someone's boundaries is a key indicator of an abusive relationship. Your partner was told that this action makes you uncomfortable, yet they chose to ignore your feelings and show up anyways. This could be them trying to control you or a form of emotional manipulation. When could this be unhealthy instead of abusive? Maybe if your partner didn't genuinely understand that this behavior was invasive and they apologize for not understanding and for disrespecting your boundary. What does a healthy response look like in this situation? Well, a healthy partner would respect your request and refrain from showing up uninvited. Let's move on to the next one. Your partner texts you more than you want them to and gets angry if you don't respond. Is this a green flag, a yellow flag, or a red flag? That's going to be a yellow flag for an unhealthy relationship behavior because it's poor communication and a disrespect for your time and boundaries. So, when would this be an escalation? If they increase their demands for constant attention, where they might try to begin to control you or monitor your responses. When they use emotional manipulation, guilt tripping you, threatening you if you don't reply quick enough. Or if they engage in stalking behaviors, repeatedly texting, calling, checking your social media accounts. What does a healthy response look like? A healthy partner respects your communication style and understands if you're busy or needs personal time. They communicate their feelings directly with you and wait for a response in a reasonable time. Let's move on to the next one. You and your partner can talk openly about your feelings, even when you disagree, and both of you feel heard during a conversation. Is this a red flag, a yellow flag, or a green flag? This behavior is a green flag for healthy relationships because it demonstrates respectful communication, emotional maturity, and mutual support between both parties. Let's say your partner threatens to harm themselves if you decide to break up with them, making you feel guilty and afraid to leave. Is this green, red, or yellow? This is going to be a red flag for an abusive relationship involving emotional control and manipulation tactics. Signs that this could escalate is if you start to see emotional blackmail from your partner, like they continue to threaten self-harm or guilt trip you into staying. Another thing to watch out for would be isolation, if your partner might try to make you feel like you're the only one that can provide emotional support to them, if they try to cut you off from friends and family or outside help. And as time goes on, manipulation tactics may escalate. They could try to control more of your decisions or even threats to get you to act how they want. What would a healthy response look like? In healthy relationships, both people can talk openly about things like breaking up, and it's done without fear or threats. If you want to end the relationship, your partner should respect that, even if it's painful for them. Let's say your partner often sends intimate photos, but gets upset if you don't reciprocate, and tries to make you feel guilty for not wanting to share your own. Is this a red flag, a green flag, or a yellow flag? This is going to be a yellow flag for an unhealthy behavior because it involves pressure, manipulation, and a disrespect for boundaries. So, this is an example of pressure and manipulation. When your partner sends you intimate photos but gets upset if you don't reciprocate, they're trying to guilt you into doing something you're not comfortable with. But we know a healthy relationship should be built on mutual respect, and both partners should feel free to share when they're ready without feeling forced. This behavior might indicate a level of insecurity or entitlement. Your partner may feel entitled to certain responses. When they don't get it, they try to manipulate you into giving in, and this is a sign of unhealthy control. Signs that this could escalate: you might notice your partner starts to make you feel guilty for not meeting their expectations. They might use emotional manipulation, like sulking or anger, to get you to comply. They may start to demand more photos or push you into more intimate situations you're not comfortable with. If this behavior continues, it could become part of a larger pattern where your partner disrespects your boundaries in other areas of the relationship too. In a healthy relationship, both partners should respect each other's boundaries and communicate openly about their comfort level. A healthy partner would be understanding and wouldn't push you into doing something you're not comfortable with. The next one, you and your partner feel that you can share things with each other, but you can also keep some things private. This behavior is going to be a green flag for healthy relationships because it shows mutual trust. Why is this healthy? In healthy relationships, both parties should feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and feelings without a fear of judgment. But it's also important that you feel like you can maintain your own privacy when needed. This shows you respect the individuality of each other, but you have a balanced relationship where both partners are safe to express themselves and have their own space. The balance is a key component here. While sharing openly is essential, making personal boundaries and the ability to keep things private fosters a healthy sense of self within the relationship. So, great job here with these scenarios. We've covered some really important concepts, and it's crucial to recognize these flags in these scenarios and in your real life relationships. Sometimes it can be difficult to identify unhealthy or abusive behaviors, especially when we're in love or deeply invested in our relationships. Emotions and attachments can make it hard to see things clearly, but now you know what some of these red, yellow, and green flags look like, and you may have the tools to make more informed decisions and protect yourself. Recognizing these behaviors early on can be a big game changer when it comes to building healthy, safe, and empowering relationships. Sometimes we might notice that we have a friend who is in an unhealthy or abusive relationship. This can be incredibly frustrating. We care about them. It's hard to watch them stay in situations that we know aren't good for them. But it's important to understand that leaving an abusive relationship is rarely a one time decision. On average, it takes someone 7 attempts to leave before they're able to break free for good. Each time they return, the situation becomes even more dangerous for them. So, while it's tough to see them go back to somebody who may be harming them or unhealthy for them, it's crucial that we remain by their side. We need to keep offering support, understanding, and provide a safe space for them. Here are some things you can say to your friend. You deserve better. Healthy relationships don't include that type of behavior. I'm afraid for your safety, and I'm here for you. It's not okay to treat people this way. And don't forget to try to provide them some resources that they can use when they're ready to get help. You can give them the National Domestic Violence Helpline or the VSC helpline. While it can be hard, being patient and continuing to show up for your friend is one of the most important things you can do. Keep supporting them even when it feels like they're not ready to leave. Your continued presence and support can make all the difference, and when they're ready, they'll know that they can count on you. So, as we transition back to the idea that the concept of a healthy relationship starts with a healthy individual, it's important to recognize that there are key needs every person has, needs that when we meet them can help us build strong and balanced relationships. Let's take a look at the 8 needs of every person. These needs are foundational to our own well being and play a big role in how we connect with others. First, feel safe and secure. We need to feel safe socially, emotionally, intellectually, and physically in all of our relationships. Safety is a basic necessity that allows us to open up and be our true selves without fear of harm or judgment. 2 is feel worthwhile. This is about self esteem, how we feel about ourselves, and the beliefs we hold about our worth. I want you to take a moment to think, or maybe even write this down. What are 2 beliefs that you hold about yourself that help you feel worthwhile? Next is have close, real love relationships. Real love is kind, unselfish, giving, honest, and healthy. Counterfeit love, on the other hand, is unkind, selfish, manipulative, and unhealthy. The relationships we cultivate should reflect this healthy and authentic love. We need to feel confident. We need to feel that we're good at things. We need to feel that our confidence can enhance our self worth and it can give us confidence in other areas of our lives. Take a moment to list 3 things you're good at. Think about how you can continue growing in areas of these competence. And you can either think of these things or write them down for yourself. 5 is have a positive self concept. Developing a positive image of ourselves is crucial. What are 3 positive things that you can say about yourself? Maybe you're good at sports. Maybe you're a good friend. Maybe you're a good communicator. Write these down, and it may be a good idea to repeat them to yourself often. We live in a difficult world, and we need these reminders. So remind yourself of your strengths and your worth. 6, respect ourselves and others. We need to live in a way that's true to our values, our beliefs, and our choices. This helps us feel good about who we are and the decisions that we make. 7, feel like you belong. We all need to feel accepted and that we belong to the groups that we're a part of, whether it's our friends, our families, communities. Belonging is a key factor to forming healthy connections. And lastly, experience growth. Having an attitude of lifelong learning and open-mindedness is essential. As we learn, we grow, we improve, and this can help strengthen ourselves and our relationships. Now, something that may affect our relationships even more than we realize is our attachment style. Attachment styles can deeply influence how we connect with others. Attachment theory explains that the way we bonded with our caregivers growing up can impact the way we form relationships as adults. I want to encourage you to take a closer look at your own attachment style. You can learn more by watching the YouTube video linked in the module. After watching, think about which attachment style you might lean towards. And understanding this can help you better understand your relationship patterns, how you might be meeting these 8 needs for yourself, and how you can grow with emotional connections with others. Now, let's look at these 8 core needs and the idea of the love bucket. Think of your love bucket as a metaphor for your emotional well being. Your love bucket represents your capacity to give and receive love in your relationships. Just like any bucket, it can be filled or drained based on how well you meet your core needs. When your needs like feeling safe, respected, confident, connected are being fulfilled, your love bucket stays full. This means you feel emotionally nourished and you have the capacity to give love to others. When your love bucket is full, you're able to offer kindness, empathy, understanding, and your relationships tend to be healthier and more balanced. But when your needs go unmet, your bucket starts to drain. For example, if you feel unsafe or unworthy, if you don't have close, real love relationships, or if you feel disconnected or underappreciated, your bucket will start to empty. Over time, if these needs continue to go unmet, it can leave you feeling empty, disconnected, unable to give love freely. Just like in any relationship, when we don't take care of ourselves and we make sure that our needs are met, we risk feeling drained and unable to give someone the best version of ourselves. That's why it's so important to recognize how the state of our love bucket affects us and our relationships. So let's understand how the love bucket actually works and how we can manage it kind of like a bank account. Just like a bank account, there are deposits, there are withdrawals, and there are even things that can cause your love bucket to drain faster, like a leak or a plug. First, let's talk about deposits. These are positive interactions and actions that fulfill your 8 core needs and fill up your love bucket. Think of acts of kindness, such as offering a compliment, spending quality time together, showing appreciation, or even just being emotionally supportive when your partner is going through something tough. These are things that add to your love bucket and theirs and keep it full. Now let's look at withdrawals. There are negative interactions or unmet needs that drain your bucket. For example, withdrawals might include arguments, criticism, being ignored, feeling emotionally neglected. These are moments where you may experience disconnections, hurt, or feel undervalued. And over time, these withdrawals accumulate without positive deposits. Your love bucket will become empty. Lastly, there are plugs and leaks. Poor decisions like staying in unhealthy relationships or situations where your needs are constantly unmet can pull the plug on your own love bucket, draining it even faster. A leak happens when there's a constant drip, drip, drip of negativity or unresolved issues over time. This can be anything from minor irritations that pile up to unresolved conflicts that go unaddressed. The key is recognizing when your bucket is low and understanding what you need to do to fill it back up. Let's talk about the lid of the love bucket. When trust and intimacy are hurt in our relationship, whether it's from someone taking more than they're giving or betraying our trust, the lid of the love bucket can close. This is a defense mechanism we put into place to protect ourselves from being hurt again. Love is not going out and love is not coming in. Sometimes people experience so much hurt that they keep their lid closed all the time. This can make it really hard to love others and feel loved in return. When the lid is closed, it becomes harder to give love freely, and it's hard to receive love from others, and our relationships can start to feel disconnected because both partners may be emotionally guarded or distant. The key to reopening the love bucket is addressing these conflicts quickly. If we let issues linger or sweep them under the rug, the lid stays closed. But when we face conflicts, communicate openly, and resolve things in a healthy way, the bucket can open up again, and love can begin to flow once more. So keep in mind, try to keep your love bucket open, address issues head on, and this can help restore trust and intimacy. Let's take a moment to reflect on your own love bucket. On a scale from 1 to 10, where would you say your love bucket is right now? 1 being completely empty and 10 being completely full. Take a second to think about it. How well do you feel like you're meeting your own needs right now? Do you feel safe, respected, connected in your life? How well can you meet the needs of others, whether in your relationship, within your family, or your friendships? Remember that you cannot pour from an empty bucket. If your love bucket is low, it can be hard to give any love to others. So make sure you work on filling your love bucket first. Whether it's through self-care, setting boundaries, or fulfilling those 8 core needs we talked about earlier, taking care of yourself is the first step to being able to love those around you. As we wrap up today, let's talk about the key takeaways from today's training. Healthy relationships start with a healthy individual. It's important to understand and meet our own needs before we can effectively engage in a relationship with somebody else. Use the skills you've learned today. Calm down. Be specific. Speak non-defensively. Validate and overlearn these skills. These actions are essential for building healthy relationships and maintaining an emotional balance. Recognize the signs of healthy, unhealthy, and abusive relationships. This helps us protect ourselves and others and take action when needed. Lastly, our love bucket is impacted by how well we can meet our own core needs. Positive interactions fill up our bucket, while negative interactions drain it. When the bucket is full, we're able to give and receive love more freely. And lastly, we cannot give love from an empty bucket. We're going to end today with a short video that shows the power of giving and receiving love. Remember to complete the quiz and the survey in your module, as they will help you reflect on what you've learned today. And finally, thank you for your time and attention today. I'm Olivia from the Victim Service Center of Central Florida, and you're one step closer to becoming a true champion of change.